trying something new. I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds to make sure everybody has made their way on to Nearpod. I'm still missing several people. From those of you that are at home, John, make sure you have a pencil and you're writing, and that Miss Maria and Miss Melvin don't have to nag you. Remember, if you need me to slow down at some point, you can type it or say it. I have 13 people in my chat. I know I have at least 14 people present, and there are only 12 people in Nearpod. So those of you who haven't made yourself in there yet, let's speed it up because I'm about to start. Okay, so today we're going to start interpreting the meaning of the parts of each expression in context. So you should already be familiar with what we're doing today because you should have seen it last year. But knowing how crazy last year was, it's possible that you don't remember much of it. So we're going to take a day to go over it before we start moving on to how we do it in 7th grade. Let's look at some vocabulary. Our first word is coefficient. Yes, we've already gone over the word coefficient. I wanted to make sure that you are aware of what it means because you will need it not only for this unit, but also for today's classwork. The coefficient is the number used to multiply a variable. So if you see a number and a letter together, the number is considered the coefficient, the letter is considered the variable. And right here, this would be considered 4 times y. In your notebook, I would suggest you write the word coefficient and then you put example for y. And then you put a little arrow pointing to the 4 so that you know the 4 is your coefficient. Okay, variable, like we just said. The variable is a symbol that represents an unknown value. So in this example, we have that x next to the coefficient is a variable, but the z is also a coefficient. I mean, a variable, sorry. A variable does not need to be next to a number or next to a coefficient for it to be considered a variable. Not like the number. If a number is by itself, it's considered a constant. If it is right next to a variable, it's considered a coefficient. That is important to know. Term. A term is a constant, a variable, or a coefficient together with the variable. Like terms are terms that have the same variable. So here in this example, all of these are terms. So 4, negative 5x, negative 13, and positive x. Those are all different terms. And I know you've all heard me use that word before. Okay, let's go ahead and look at our first problem. So there's going to be some easier ones, some that are a little bit more difficult. Today, it's just kind of getting to know the words and getting to know what we need to do. So keep in mind, I told you to make sure that you were writing down in your notes so that you know what a coefficient is, what is a variable, what is a term. So this question asks, which is a coefficient in the expression 3x minus y plus 6z plus 5? Thank you, Shaylin. I'll slow down. I just don't know. Like, I try to give some wait time, but since I can't see you, it's not the same. So which is a coefficient in the expression? I'm going to write out the expression again, just so that I can kind of put a box around the information that we need to know. So for those of you who did not write what a coefficient is, remember, a coefficient would be if I have something like this, the number next to the variable is considered a coefficient because it's being multiplied by the letter or by the variable. So that is our coefficient, and the letter is our variable. So again, if you didn't write it before, make sure you write this example down now. So our expression, 3x minus y plus 6z plus 5. So when the question asks us for our coefficient, it's just asking us for that number that's being multiplied by the variable. It's not asking us for the term, so it's not asking us for the coefficient and the variable. It just wants the coefficient. So I'm going to go ahead and put a box around the numbers that would be considered a coefficient. So in this expression, and again, if I'm going too fast, I'm trying to talk a little bit slower, but let me know. In this expression, the 3 is considered a coefficient because it's being multiplied by that variable. And this positive 6 is also considered a coefficient. The 5 and the negative y are not coefficients. So now I'm going to look at my answer choices. A says 3, so 3 could be our answer. 5 is not, because 5 is a constant. C, 6z. So remember, I said a coefficient is just the number being multiplied, not the whole term. So 6z would not be our answer, and neither would y. So our answer would be A. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to make sure you have everything that you need to written down, and then I'll go ahead and move forward. Okay. Next, it says, which expression represents 2 times the difference of a number b and 5? So which expression represents 2 times the difference of a number b and 5? So I would tell you to write this in your notes as well. Why? Because this problem is very different to the one we just did. They're not the same. Okay, so I'm going to read it one more time and underline important information. Which expression represents 2 times the difference of a number b and 5? So we got to be very careful with this so that we don't make a mistake. So it says 2 times, and we're going to kind of dissect it a little bit at a time. 2 times. So I know 2 times. And for right now, I'm going to represent times with a little dot to show multiplication. So 2 times the difference. Can someone either say or type in, what does the word difference mean? What would I be doing? Am I adding, multiplying, subtracting? Subtracting. So when it's asking me for the difference, I'm subtracting. So it's asking me for the difference of a number b and 5. So I'm looking for the difference between b and 5. So this is the part that gets tricky for some of us. What am I supposed to do with that 2 times? So how do I know if I'm just multiplying 2 times b or if I'm multiplying 2 times b minus 5? I'm going to use this to guide me. It says 2 times the difference of b and 5. If it was just saying 2 times b minus 5, that would be one thing, but it wants to know 2 times the difference of both. So what that tells me is that I got to put that parentheses and I'm multiplying 2 times both of those numbers. So I have it written out, and now it's telling me that my answer would be A. Remember, I only put that dot in there to kind of show me I was multiplying as I started writing it out. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do another one. Now, these are the types of things that we're looking at today. We're building expressions. Okay, so this is, again, it's a different type of problem. Notice as we read it, we see, okay, I'm not going to build an expression. I have to do something with what they gave me. And again, you should have already seen this last year. So it says, if m equals 6 and n equals 3, what is the value of the expression 3 times m times n minus 2 times m? So I'm saying it like that so that you guys are understanding that when you have that coefficient next to those variables, that means you're multiplying. So I'm going to go back and underline, and then we'll start writing it out. So if m equals 6 and n equals 3, what is the value? So what is the value of the expression 3mn minus 2m? So I'm going to start by rewriting the expression that was given to me. I'm doing this so that I can slowly plug in the numbers that they gave me. So I know that I have my 3. It says up here that m is now 6. That doesn't mean that I'm now going to do 3 plus 6 plus 3. No. The expression shows me that this is multiplication. So that's what I'm going to do. So now I'm going to have 3 times 6 because 6 is replacing my m. And it says 3 is replacing my n. So I'm going to put it like this. So now I know that when I work it out, it's 3 times 6 times 3. Let me keep going. I'm not going to work it out until I have it written out. Minus 2, and again, m is represented by 6. So 2 times 6. And now I can go ahead and slowly work it out. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my calculator. Why? Because I'm allowed to use it. 2, because I want to make sure my answer is right. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in our first piece. I'm going to do 3 times 6 times 3 equals, and it gives me an answer of 54. I'm going to bring down that subtraction, and I'm going to do the same thing with 2 times 6. So now it's 2 times 6 equals, that equals 12. Notice how because I replaced both the m and the n, I don't have any variables on the bottom. It's just numbers. So my last step is working that out. So I'm going to go ahead and do 54 minus 12 equals, and it gives me 42 as my answer. So my answer is C. Again, take a second to make sure you have this written down. So that way you have one example of each. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move forward unless anyone needs me to wait another second. Oops. Okay, we're going to go ahead and look at another one where we're writing out our expression. It says, if x is a number, which expression represents the statement below? 4 less than the product of 2 and a number. So it says if x is a number, so that means that a number is actually represented by x. I want you to take a minute and I want you to try and solve, or not solve, I want you to try and write out this expression. Read it to yourself again and try building an expression. Remember what we talked about yesterday when you see keywords like less than. And yes, please make sure it ends up on your screen. Remember, is it asking you to take 4 away from 2x, or is it asking you to take 2x away from 4? Think about it slowly. Think about the word product. What does product mean? Does that mean the answer to an addition problem, to a multiplication problem? Okay, I'm going to reshare my screen and let's go ahead and take a look, because it looks like a lot of people have kind of worked their way through it. But I am seeing the same error on a lot of people's screens. Remember when we say 4 less than the product. So when you think of, and I'm going to kind of draw it out. I'm thinking of a good scenario. So let me draw out a few chips. If I were to say 4 less than 6, do I want to do 4 minus 6? Or do I want to do 6 minus 4? When you're saying the words less than, you're going to be doing less than. That means subtracting after. I shouldn't be seeing people putting 4 minus. When you see words like more than and less than, so less than and more than, you're putting that after the fact. So I'm actually thinking of this as this goes after this. So for most of us, we got the word product right. Product would mean that I'm going to be multiplying. So 2 and x would look like this. And it's going to be 4 less than that. So I'm going to do minus 4. I'm not going to do 4 minus 2x. I'm doing 4 less than 2x. So you need to remember less than and more than. You're putting the sign after. If you need to write a little note so that you remember that less than and more than comes after, because I love to use examples like this to make sure that we're understanding those words, because they are tricky. So our answer would be B. I saw some people put C. Remember, it says product. If it had said sum, then it would be 2 plus x or x plus 2. But product means you're multiplying. And if you're not sure, I'm going to be putting all of those words on the word wall in expressions and equations today. Okay, make sure you've submitted what you have, and I'm moving to the next one. I see a couple people who didn't put anything on their screen. Go ahead and submit because I'm moving on. Our next problem is going to be your exit ticket. So you're going to be taking what we've been doing today and you're going to be doing it all by yourself. So again, we're seeing that keyword less than. So it says, which expression represents 4 less than twice a number n? So it's telling us that that number is n. So which expression represents 4 less than twice a number n? I'm going to stop sharing. Go ahead and think through that slowly. Remember that key word, less than. Does that mean I'm putting -4 first or -4 after? Yulivani, yours looks good. You can start your classwork. William, I'm not seeing anything. Randy, yours is also good. Shaylin, you too. Louisa, I'm still not seeing anything. Yair, yours is good. Jesus, I'm not seeing anything for you. Yeah, you're good to start your classwork. Emily, you can submit and you can start your classwork as well. Okay, no. Emily, never mind. You had it correct and then you changed it. Don't doubt yourself. You were right. Karen, you can go ahead and submit. Jose, you can also submit. Okay, Albin. So it says 4 less than twice a number. So remember we said less than says that -4 goes where? And then twice a number. When do you normally think of twice a number? Is it multiplication? Remember, this is your exit ticket. I want to know what you are following along with. Marisol, yours looks good. You can submit and start your classwork. Luisa, yours is also good. John, let's speed it up. Emily, much better. Santiago, yes, yours looks good. Albin, we're not distributing. We're writing an expression based off of the words, like I just did for the last few examples. John, I'm just waiting on you. So let's go. John, go ahead and circle your answer and submit. Albin, you too. John, Albin, you're good. Okay, so your classwork is just like what we did in class today. So you have 3 slides. The first slide